这边汽油，那几辆车后台没有。没错，聊一下，他的精神在看的。成不远大。要电脑在上面，最早要平常要那种是这方面这样子。希望你是对，那所以现在都变成这样，对对就是你们 变的话，它抵赖的。对了，原来你可能会不。我也可以看他在。啊，他写的挺好的，完全好。
Ready to start? Okay, good afternoon to everyone. So I found this toy that last time we draw the level curve. Yeah, so if you imagine more circle here, you can form a hemisphere. You still remember the hemisphere, the level curve? What's the level curve of a hemisphere? You get a bunch of circle at different heights. Okay, so some admin update. So first thing is your project one, right? Most of you have decided your topics. So please, you can start submitting your draft this week. I already got one draft from Yu Liang, so I think I will reply you by this week. Okay, so all of you can start submitting because next week you have exam, right? And then the other week you need to prepare to submit your project. Okay, so please, you can start submit this week. Another thing is what else? Right, this week revision class Friday. Okay, so please be prepared. Try question in your textbook and the practice test exam. Okay. So some of you might be worry about the difficulty for the exam. I would say I reduce the difficulty, but you need to remember one thing in your mind is all the rules and um, all the rules or difficulties apply the same to all of you. So it's fair. 是公平的。OK，所以你不用担心太难还是太简单。Because we will because what's important is your ranking in your class actually. Yeah. So is your ranking in your class. So make sure you try your best. Okay. Even if you try your best, you think you are worse. 不要这样想。OK，如果你不会，不要觉得自己有问题还是什么，你就尽管学就可以了。OK，你就来找我，有问题你就来找我。OK，不要自己在自己那边做，因为这样的话你会产生一个东西叫做两个字，要猜吗？这两个字是什么？内耗。OK，this is useless. This kind of 内耗 is useless. OK，because you will make yourself angry. So make sure you come to my office hour or Teams me. OK，I will direct you. 我不会跟你直接讲答案的 ，but I will give you direction where you should look at. OK，yeah，I'll point you to the right thing. 是吗？是吗，小鹏是这样吗？但是你跟我讨论过后，你的 assignment 2就满分了，是不是？你知道我要什么，知道自己少了什么嘛，对不对？就要填进去哦。So my comment in your assignment make sure you understand, make sure you know what to fill in for the next assignment to come. OK, otherwise you won't learn. 你学不到的，因为你不知道我要什么，对不对？所以你一定要来问我。OK，如果我在讨论的时候没有提到你的问题的话 ，OK，因为有时候我只会提 general 的问题，大家都会犯的错，有些太 specific 了，所以你要过来问，OK 吗 你看我一个人哦，要顾你们几个？20。你呢？你顾你自己一个就好了啊，对不对？把自己顾好来找我，OK 吗？Does it make sense？OK 吗？不要内耗啊，不要做无谓的内耗。Right. So let's start with a warm-up quiz first. Again, let's start with a warm-up quiz. So let's start with a warm-up quiz. So whenever we refer to line or curve, what's the dimension for line and curve? About which check? You know what's the dimension of line and a curve or curve? How many dimension? Sorry, lines in R, good. I mean, not exactly lines in R, but we can use R to describe it, right or not? We use time variable, right, to describe a space curve. Remember the parametric curve? Okay. Lines in R, when we say lines in R, we only will talk about the real line, okay? But in our case, we will talk about space curve. We will talk about space curve like this. Okay. Sometimes we'll lie in R2. Okay. Whenever we say lies in R, we mean the real line. Okay. This is lies in R. So what's lies in R here? This line is lies in R. And then this curve here is lying in R2. Okay. So this one is in R2. And then this one is in like this. So whenever we talk about line, we mean straight line. Okay, but curve is also a kind of line. Sorry. Okay. A line is a kind of curve. Okay, so curve line. So curve could mean these a curvy line or just normal line. Okay, so curve is more general. So if I want to really talk about this, the relation between these two, maybe we can write like this. Okay, whenever we talk about line, usually we mean straight line. If it's a different line, we will just say curve. Okay. How about the other one? How about plane or surfaces? Plane or surfaces? Okay, let's check. 会齐，是会齐吗？ Okay, so usually plane and surfaces is what dimension? 啊，不太 OK。好，check you 呢？R2, okay, R2, right, R2, right? Because how do you draw the plane? Like this rectangle, okay, or square, or infinite plane. So why R2? Where's the two direction? You can go straight or you can go to the right. So there are two directions here. They are linearly independent. OK， 看得到吗？有两个方向可以走。OK， 这个两个方向是 linearly independent. Surface 呢 ？Surface usually we talk about curved surface like that. OK, curved surface. 一个帽子。Also got two direction, right? You just see the two direction. Maybe you can go this way. Maybe you can go that way. Do you listen to one kind of 脑筋急转弯？如果公鸡下蛋的话，在那个屋顶上下蛋，它的蛋会从左边掉下来还是右边掉下来？嗯，在屋顶上面下蛋的嘛。所以这所以这就是脑筋急转弯，所以公鸡不会下蛋。但是就是说这个屋顶就有不同方向嘛，那个蛋可以掉下来，对不对？So there's a plane, okay? The surface of the roof is a plane. OK， 明白吗？有不同的方向。If you are lying， 如果你只有站在这里 ，OK， 你只可以走一个方向吧，左右吧，左右这个方向是从左乘出来的，所以它们是 linearly dependent， 对吧 ？OK，let me be precise a bit. So this is the part, the differential calculation. Okay, so if this direction is x, if you go the other direction is minus x. So they are linearly dependent. 虽然你有两个方向 but they are linearly dependent. Okay, does it make sense? Okay, but in plane you have x and y. They are linearly independent. You cannot get y from x anyhow. 不能，不能。Does it make sense? Okay. Okay, good. So this is a two idea here. Right. So last time we mentioned about the idea of limit, right? Okay. Can anyone explain what's the idea of limit? 冲向的，是冲向哦。冲向。什么是 idea of a limit? So let's say I give you a function. So suppose f(x, y) is a real value function. On two variables. So how do we define limit xy to ab of fxy equals to some number? So how do we define this? So you go ma. So in our case here, what's our domain? Our domain is R2. In R, we just care about left and right. Because like what I do just now, right, you can go left or go right. But in R2, how many directions you can go to the point? At least two. Actually more than two. You look at the surface I drew just now. How do you reach this point? How do you reach this point here? You can go from the bottom, or you can go from the bottom right. This is at least two. And you can do something like this, like when you go to Genting, right? 可能吗？是吗？你是这样子去云顶的吗？还是你自路上去云顶？有人用飞机接上来的，飞机飞过去。Okay, so you see, there's a lot of way to approach this line here. Okay, so how do we express this? So how do we do it? So we'll say that for every epsilon greater than 0, there's this delta greater than 0, such that if the distance of xy between AB is less than epsilon, then this value fxy minus L is less than epsilon. Okay, so you see, this part, the last part here is still the same in one variable calculus. But this part here tells you it includes all the direction. Why? Why is include all the direction here? That's delta, sorry, thank you. So what's this? What's this length here? What's the length in two-dimensional? 哪两个点怎样算它的距离？直线距离 ，the straight line distance。有吗？中学好像有学过诶，怎样算啊 ？Pythagoras theorem. So this is actually x minus a square plus y minus b square. This thing is less than delta. You know what this picture is? If I vary x and y, what's this picture? 这个是什么东西 I claim that we learned this before. 玉良 Can you tell us what this surface is if I vary x and y. Good. So this just tells us all the point inside a circle. What circle is this? So if you want to talk about circles, right, there are two information you need to tell me. One is the center, the other is the radius. So what's the center here? AB, good. And what's the radius? What? What's the radius? Hey, no, this one is delta. Delta, okay. Delta, not 8, delta. Okay, so this radius is delta. So everything inside this circle here, but not the boundary. Okay, I don't include the boundary. Okay, this is what we so call the open ball. Okay, it's open. So we call it a open ball. Wait. Later we will meet the word open again when we talk about maximum minimum theorem. So this is an open ball centered at AB with radius delta. Richie, 为什么叫 ball 啊？不要叫 ball 了 ，ball 太大了，叫 this 就好了。this 为什么叫 this 啊？会像 this 吗？我先问你 ，this 有看过 this 吗？哎，现在小孩子恐怕没有看过 this 有啊，还有那边还有04还看过，你有没有看过 ？So this， so 现在全部用 USB， 而且都没有 USB 了。现在 ，OK，anyway，so this look like this right？OK，but 我们的 this 是没有动的。OK，open this。So if we go to higher dimension, we have open ball. So in general, we just call it open ball. Okay. So lower dimension, we call this. Okay. You want to call it this one, call it ball in my class is fine. I will know what you say. Okay. Yeah. Usually ball is 3-dimensional. Okay. But this is 2-dimensional. Okay, good. Right. So, but I told you right, in our class, we won't use this to calculate things. This definition is important, but we won't use it to calculate any limit. Okay, definition 很重要，但是只是我们不会拿来算 limit 吧。Okay， 所以怎么办 ？Okay, so we need to introduce a bunch of tools. So this is the tools we want. Okay, I ask you read first. You read. Okay, maybe read this part first. I want to see how you read things. Then I will see how I explain things. You read first. 大家对你来说这些句子是什么意思 ？And then I will show you how to use them. Then I give you 1 minute, read it, and then I will see how you understand these things. 这个就在模拟你自己读书的时候是怎么读的。Okay, so let's start with about Weixin. If I said, look at focus on the first line first, the limit of the sum is the sum of the limit. 这句话对你来说是什么意思？错不用紧，但是我要知道对你来说是什么意思。讲话了，错不用紧啊。有没有一个 example 在你的脑？没有，你继续说，这样加起来的，然后其实你没有错，你知道吗？有错是这句话，这句话少讲了一些东西了，他都没有告诉你是 OK， 这里 OK， 你看到这里面的出现了3次，3出现了2次，里面出现了2次，全部的字你应该懂了，但是它随便排列组合这样成一个句子。Okay, so let's tie let's break this sentence down。第一个你要猜的是 verb 的前面跟后面。后面蛮直接的 ，some of 一些东西，前面呢 limit of a sum 什么 sum， 就讲好来，然后公平讲什么？公平猜 function 呢？这就是你跟公平读书不一样的地方了，他猜到对的东西是 function， 那为什么是 function？ 所以其实我们应该要在这个 sum 上面加几个字 ，sum of functions， sum of functions， 这样会比较 make sense 吗 ？limit of sum of functions， 这样你是不是可以试想 limit of sum of function， 对不对？这样就比较 make sense 哦。OK， 后面呢 is the sum of the limit， 又来了 limit of 谁？又是 function 哦。OK， 又是 function of function。谁的 function 呢？前面的 function 跟后面 function 应该有关系吗？应该是要有的话。OK，so what it means is you can split the limit into sum of the individual limit. Okay, sum of individual limit. So how should I put it? So like this. Okay 了。OK。Sum of， 我觉得再加多一个字会不会更好 ？Of the individual limit function. The limit of individual function. Of the sum of the individual limit function. 也很奇怪。Sum of the limit of individual function. Individual 加在这里。来，谁读英文的？看看这句话 make sense 吗？啊，谁读英文的？来 check 一下这句话 make sense 吗？ The limit of a sum of function is the sum of the limit of individual function。有吗？我们有把 limit 拆开吗？如果这样讲的话，哎，异想笑笑。来，你觉得合理吗？哎，我们要讨论，因为这些语言的问题啊，比如说你们要学什么 business 啊什么啊，你们 contract 要写好来哦，你 contract 没有写好来，输不到哦，或者人家输你哦。OK， 少一个你就完蛋了，对不对 ？OK， 这样 ，some of the I think individual limits 啊，应该是 limit 是分开的 ，limits of individual function。limit of individual in function 就应该是 individual， 所以应该是 limit 是 individual。对，所以我觉得我会偏向于加在这里了。我先放一个括弧，其实不要加也可以，但是 to emphasize that we split the limit 啊。OK， OK， so can you use the first line to deduce the next 4 lines? How to imagine the sentence? Okay, so if you have a limit of a difference of function, maybe f1 minus f2, then it is the difference of the limit. So you take limit of f1 minus limit of f2. Okay, so I mean, well, 你觉得这个可能还很抽象哦，这个还很抽象。But we can make it more concrete. So replace this function. Maybe we replace it by, let's say, so for example, x, y, and x squared. Okay, so you can split this function up to 3 parts here. By what? Okay, by number 1. Okay. For example, make sense, man? Okay. Right. So the third line says what? If you have a constant kind of function, so let's write it down quickly. Limit of a constant and a function is just what? Constant times the limit of it. So you see that the constant commute with the limit operator. Okay, this is what we mean by commute 啊，因为它交换位置啊 commute。Okay, limit and k commute 交换位置。Can you see？有看到交换吗 ？Limit k limit。Okay. Limit of product. So limit of product, let's say f times g equals to limit of f times limit of g. Okay. And then lastly, we have quotient. So let me ask you a question. Do you see this property familiar? 有看过吗？类似这样的东西，好像有看过诶，在哪一课看过？啊，在哪一课看过？类似的东西。Sequence good. Okay, so there you also have limit of sequence. Also satisfies similar property here for the sum, difference, and then scalar, scalar multiple, and then product, and then quotient. Okay, so similar property also because there's a limit. Okay, right. But even if I told you all these, right? For example, in this example here, do you know what's limit of x, limit of y, limit of x squared? Not sure. Okay, so you need to have a rule to tell you what's the limit of the simple polynomial. Okay, the most simple one, which is fxy equals to x, fxy equals to y, and fxy equals to some constant. Okay, so right. 你们会觉得很奇怪吗？当你们看到这一个有 xy， 但是这里没有 y， 会觉得奇怪吗？有人觉得奇怪吗？这里有 xy， 这里就有 x， 这什么意思呢？小杨，是小杨吗？小杨 right？ So why here only have x？ y 是任意的。to know 不对，不对。But taking limit of what? Before that, how do I mean? What's the subject? What's the main subject we learn here? Function of two variable. So we are looking at the limit of function of two variable here. So meaning what? This x is a function. What function is this? Fxy equals to x. Okay. Fxy equals to x. OK 了，这是什么东西来的哈？可以想象吗？这个是什么东西 ？You know how to plot it? You know how to plot this? 讲 plot 这个，一想讲 plot。为什么是一个平面？ Okay, so how to get that line? To get that line. So how should we start? How should we start? Maybe we can look at. Okay, so I mean, well, right. So can you notice that fx equals fxy equals to x? Like Xiaoyang said, doesn't depend on y. But how do you see this in the graph? Doesn't depend on y. Okay, so for example, what can you try? Really, what I teach you, you just need to plot some point to give you an idea what happened. So maybe we take y equals 0. fxy equals to what? X. fx0 equals to x. Okay, maybe we start a new. Okay, so let's do this plot. So let fxy equals to x. So try some value. So for example, fx0, what is it? Still x. fx, what else do we have? fx 2, we also got x. And then fx -1 was equal to x. Okay. But what are these correspond to this y value here? These are all the y equals to -1, y equals 0, and y equals to 2. Okay. Well, let me ask you, where does this graph lies in? Graph of this f live in where? A same question addressed to Seng. Where does this graph live in? 我在哪里 ？R2 还是 R3？R2 还是 R3？ R3. How do you get R3? How do you get this R3? This is coming from R2 plus, let's use this plus R. Okay, so where do you get the R2 and R from? This is looking at your domain and your codomain of your function. Okay, so if you want to graph this out, this thing should live in R3. Okay, so it should live in R3. So let's draw R3 first. So let's draw R3. X, Y, and Z. Okay. So how to see this graph? So last time what I told you, right? A map from R2 to R, how do you imagine? It is a plane attached with height. Okay, 它的高度。可是它的高度怎么变呢？Depend on x. Okay, so if you have negative x, the height is negative. If you have positive x, the height is positive. Okay. But when x is 0, the height is 0. Okay, so the easiest point to plot is the this line here. Is it this line, not this line? So x equal to 0 here, this line. Okay. And what can you see? What can you see is if you have positive x, the height is positive. Okay, if you have negative x, the height is negative. Does it make sense? Okay. And then, but what's the surface you're going to plot out here? Okay, can you see what's the surface you're going to plot out here? The claim by Isa just now was you will get a, you get what? You will get a plane. Okay, you will get a plane. So how do I draw this plane? Let me think. Draw like this. Like this. And then put it down. And then this. Okay. Well, right. So can you see it? Can you see or not? This plane here. Yeah, I think we'll answer. So this plane you should read like this. Okay. So going down. Because negative x at the back, positive x at the front. Okay. So this plane looks like this. Can you see or not? Okay. So why is it a plane? Why is it a plane? So if you fix y equals 0, y equals 0 is where? Okay, don't fix that one. Fix y equals to 2, for example. Where is y equal to 2? Let's fix that one. So where is y equal to 2? So if you fix y equal to 2 here, okay, then what did you see? What did you see here? So if you get this, and then you fix y equal to 2 line, what do you get? You really get what? Fx equal to x line. Fx equal to x, how does it look like in R2? Fx equal to x. You get this linear line here. Okay, so what can you see? Actually, this plane is built up by a bunch of linear line. 看到吗？可以看到吗？ A bunch of linear line， 像这个这样子吧 ，OK，then 它的旁边是什么做成的？就是 y 等于 x，and then you have bunch of y 等于 x together， 看到吗 ？Can you see? Okay, this idea is very important because later when we do integration we need this concept. Okay, how to cut these spaces into line, circle, something like that, or triangle. Okay, okay, so this plane is built up by this bunch of line. How to get this line? If you fix your y value, then you will get a curve on your surface here. Okay. How about level curve? When we talk about level curve, how should the level curve look like? How should the level curve look like? So let me label this. This is fx 2 equals to x. Level curve. How does level curve look like in this case? You have this plane here. Level curve, 顾名思义 tells you the level. So where's the level here? X, Y, Z. 哪一个是 level? 小赢是吗？小赢。Which axis tells you the level of this plane? X, Y, or Z? 选一个。Sorry. 选一个 X, Y, Z. X 啊，听不到，sorry， 我听不到，大声一点。X Y 是 Z， 选一个，快，选一个，没有钱拿的，20块钱。啊 ？Z good. Z is the height, right? Z is the height. Okay. So Z is the height. So here Z is the level height, right? Because X and Y is our domain. Okay, our height live in the codomain. Okay, so this one, right? Level in codomain. Okay, so if we're gonna split this picture into level curve, the curve should look horizontal. Okay, so level curve is like this. Okay, okay, yeah. So this is the level curve. 还记得吗？上次我们做过练习。If we plot out all the level curve and then we join them together, it is our surface also. Okay, yeah. So these are different ways to dissect our surface. Right. So what can you see here? Can you imagine that this function here is a what? Is a generalization of the one variable fx equal to x. 可以想到吗？ Is a generalization of this fx equal to x. So let me label first xy here. Okay. 可以想到吗？ Is a generalization of this. 我把这个放进 two dimensional. So what happened? 我把这一片东西，我一直 repeat this two dimensional picture here. 看得到吗？无限的 repeat. Then these y equal to x line will join as a plane. Okay, yeah. So this is what it means by I don't care about the y, because where I have a lot of y put together. Okay, same picture. 看得到吗？看得到吗？要不要我移移？那这样子，这样，很多这样，可以吗？可以想象我在讲什么吗 ？Okay. Okay. Does it make sense? Yeah. You put a lot of y equal to x together. Right. Then 确实，这个应该是Z的 thank you。OK， right。OK， 还有什么东西要讲 ？OK， right。So similarly, you can work out what is so exercise now. Go back and try what is f x y equals to y. How does it look like? Okay, and then how is the constant looks like? 可以想象啊 constant 是什么 ？f(x,y) equals to c，a constant。告诉你什么？每一个点的高度是固定的。如果你固定了每个点的高度 ，what's your surface？ 平的。So you get a plane. Okay, you get a plane because everyone have the same height， 对吗？就是平了，高度一样，对不对 ？Okay, so these are easy to compute. Why? You just sub x as a if you want to take limit from the x point to a point, and then y equals to b if you take limit from y point to b point, and then what's the limit of c? Constant is still c. So this is what you know from calculus. Okay, to prove this, we need epsilon delta, but we're not going to do that. Okay, so you need to remember, you can substitute, literally substitute, 真的就是 substitute. If you want to take limit of x, you can just make it into a. Okay, if you want to go to the a point. So from here, okay, you can prove that if f is a polynomial, then fxy equals to fa. Right. 感觉这句话又很诡异啊，是不是？讲理解这句话。How about I check? 子莹 how to understand this line here? I mean, one challenging aspect in this class is you need to know how to turn English word into mathematics expression, and vice versa. Turn mathematical expression into English. Okay, so this is a skill you need to learn in this class. I see. 不然你就解释一下白话，就是说为什么这是什么意思？错也不用紧。Good, good. Do you have an example or no? Sorry? X 平方 y. So let's do an example. fxy equals to what? X 平方 y. Like this. Okay. So let's say we want to take limit of xy to ab. So let's say ab is 0, 1 of this function. So what's the answer I should expect here? How to compute, first of all? 0 squared times 1. Okay, because this is what this formula tells you. Just substitute your a and b into the function. Okay, why is it true? You need to use epsilon delta, but we don't do it. I actually don't need this one. Actually don't need, you know? Actually don't need epsilon delta. This just need what we have deduced just now. You know why? You know what's the definition of polynomial or not? We need to know about definition of polynomial, then we will know how to deduce from the what we have just now. What's the definition of polynomial? Very important. No? So what's the definition of polynomial? So in our case, we will only care in two variables. Okay, you can care about polynomial in n variable. Okay, maybe you got x, y, z, w, u, v. Okay, the polynomial in two variable is a sum of monomial in two variables. Sensing吗？Yeah, exactly. 老师又骗我了，把我骗去另外一个不会的东西了。So we need to define what is monomial here. Okay, so what's the monomial of in two variable? In two variable, let's call it a name. Let's say xy. Okay, is the form of x to the I and y to the j for some I, j in Z. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I think so. Let me think. Polynomial negative 吗？应该有啊，可以啊。Polynomial negative 啊，我想一下，1 over x 不是 polynomial 吗？哦，不是啊。Okay, maybe we remove that method. Okay, 把它丢掉。我想一下。Okay, yeah. Okay, later we'll touch that. Okay, yeah. So let's keep it as greater or equal to 0, and then we treat. So here we have a remark here. So x0 and y0 we treat it as 1. Okay? Constant. So it's a sum of polynomial. Yeah. Okay. I think it's enough. So if I define these two words, can you imagine a polynomial for me? Bing Xiong, can you imagine a polynomial for me in a polynomial in two variable? 可以想象吗？你这个情况。来，我们现在 test 一下这两句话有用吗？可以 build 一些有用的东西吗？X 加 Y, good. Why? Can you write it as this kind of form or this kind of form? 要写到这个 form 才有用，是吗？可以写到这个 form 吗？这样可以再仔细一点吗？x1乘 y0加 x0乘 y1。Okay, so it's really a sum of monomial. Okay, no? Make sense? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, this is one of the examples. Right. So my claim is this theorem here can be deduced from whatever you learned before. Okay, can deduce from whatever you learned before this one. Okay, which we didn't prove it. Can you imagine? How do you build a polynomial? You just take the x function and y function, multiply together, right? And then you take the sum. So how do you build polynomials? You use number 6, number 1, number 2, and number what? Number 3 and 4 actually. So did we include the constant case? Did we include the constant case here? 比如说你做得出 2x 吗？用这个 definition 做得出吗？ 2x 这样做啊？金色这样做。Let me write it down. What do you say? 2x is what? X0, Y0. X1, Y0. Okay, good. Okay, but I think we still miss something. I think we cannot build 0.1x. Integer 1 we can. I think we cannot build this. We need to include this into our definition. Okay, so I think sum is not enough. We need to make it into a linear combination. Okay, so meaning we can take scalar multiple. Okay or not? Does it make sense? So we need to take a linear combination. If you want to be precise, we just take R linear, we take scalar in. So this is how we build definition 其实我们每次在 define 的时候，都是要 define 一些我们自己要的东西。Okay, so you need to build until something that you can work on it. If I just take some, the at most scalar I can make is just a natural number. Okay, but if I want to include these cases, then you need to artificially add it in. You need to build it into your definition. Okay, so I make it a linear combination. Where do I take the scalar? I take in R, for example. Okay, in different codes, maybe you need to take in C, complex number, or something like that. Okay, so this is why definition is very important. And how definition works. We can adjust one, depend on which class you live in. Okay, they will be different. Right. Okay. Next, if you have a rational function, okay, where it is a polynomial divide another polynomial, what do? You also can just substitute only, okay, the point into your function. But provided what? Remember, every time when you want to divide something, you want to make sure that that thing is not 0. Okay, so provided it's not 0. And what else? If your numerator is finite, okay, the limit, but your denominator go to 0, then this limit won't exist. Okay, won't exist. When I define you these properties, right? What happens to infinity if one of them go to infinity? Actually, we don't really know. Okay, we don't really know. Because you need to look at this assumption here. We need to assume that whatever we calculated, the limit exists. Okay, you need to make sure the limit exists first. Only then you can split them up. So let's give an example and then we will take a break from here. So for example, this example here. Okay, so this is a perfectly good polynomial. Okay. So by the theorem, you can straight away use theorems. Okay, so let's test whether you understand the theorem or not. 来 n 次 what's this equal to if you use the theorem? Good, 1 square times 2 plus 3. Sorry, 3 times 2, thank you. So this is just 2 plus 6, which is 8. Okay, so if you use the theorem, you just substitute because this is just polynomial. But if you use the property, of limit, what do? We only know about the limit of x. We only know about the limit of y. Okay, so limit of x is 1. Limit of y is 2. But how do I combine these two? Because we know that the limit of product is product of limit. Okay, so we can compute x squared y and 3y first. And then how to do the sum? The limit of a sum is a sum of limit. So it's equal to just substitute them at once. Okay or not? Does it make sense? Okay, so these is very important how to compute, how to get the substitution right. Okay, I mean, do you understand? 会写，听得懂吗？ OK， 听得懂，要把它写下来，OK， 我快快写一下，说 limit of x y go to 1 2 of x is 1 and then limit of x y 1 2 of y is 2 and then so we can compute what is the limit of, for example, just do one of them. What is x squared y here? This is just limit of xy to 1 2 of x squared times limit of, let's not write that down, so times this. So you get 1 squared times 2. Okay, and then so on. Completed. Okay, so you should see that both way compute to the same answer. Okay? Yeah. Right. Okay, any question? Any question so far? 可以吗？懂讲读了吗？这些东西。Okay, so I think there's one challenging you have to face in the course is if you study alone, how to make sense of this sentence is very important. Okay, but if you really cannot figure out, let's say 半个钟，我觉得你就要该放弃了。我觉得你就应该要放弃了，你应该要来找我了。其实，OK，或者找你朋友也可以。OK，不要花无谓的时间，我这样跟你们这样讲，因为你们10年就是在做这种事情。他现在长大了，他懂了，但是他像你这个年纪的，他也不懂，所以不要走人家的老路啊。所以 that's why 我 office hour 我会 ask 那些 senior 来，我希望就是你们可以从他身上 get 到一些 advice，OK 了，因为他们走过这些老路了，他们知道应该要怎样应付。其实，OK，如果你又要用你的自己的那一套方式，我不是讲不可以，你可以的，但是你就会辛苦，我只能这样你说，OK 了，OK。然后我的课make sure 你们要听我讲的东西，OK？如果你没有听，你是很难的，绝对很难。你听不懂可以问，我不会骂你的，我不会讲你笨，我不会讲你傻，我不会嫌你蠢，我只有嫌一个东西吧，懒，而不要自动自发，我只会嫌这个东西。And then 不要把我的课跟别的老师比较没有可比性我告诉你们，特别是不要跟我拿个第名比。我觉得他很好，OK，我赞成他的，但是我们两个的层次不一样。他讲是我学生讲他同时拿我的 statistic 和他的课你知道我学生讲什么吗？那老师教的很好，我会做他的题，但是我读不懂他的课本。但是他上我的 AA，我课难，但是他读得懂我教的那本课本。你明白吗？知道什么问题在里面吗？我们不是玩刷题的，在这边。OK，你刷，你以为你会做，其实你不会的。你下个 century 忘记了，你这 probably 学了什么东西了？就算记得，你也不会用。我敢打包票，我打包票。我不是讲它不好，它有它的方式，但是你要知道我们的差别在哪里，你明白吗？OK， yeah，我没有要贬低他，是我们做的东西不一样嘛。你们身为学生，你们应该要明白这件事情。我不喜欢你们被蒙骗。对吧？我是很愿意帮助你不要以为好像我要害你这样没有这回事我吃饱太闲空你知道你 assignment 这样我自己也要改，所以你知道为什么老师不要出难题了吗？他懒惰改，所以如果碰到不争气的学生，我是很生气的，我跟你们讲。OK，所以有问题你尽量来问我就对了，不要内耗。OK，这可以明白吗？OK，我觉得恩慈来这里读书的 motivation 很对。他进来，你们大家知道他从哪里来吗？方便分享吗？方便你们知道他从哪里来吗？从哪里来？哎，分享一下恩慈。好久后来，OK，因为你之前有在其他地方读过书，对不对？在诺丁汉，对不对？为什么转过来？因为你在那边读什么，然后为什么转过来？
较人家我在那边教的比较我那个时候不太懂数学系是这样子学，就我在那边听是半懂半不懂，然后考是可以考得很好，可是不懂是完全不懂，还是看不懂。可是来这边呢，然后可能是因为之前学过，也有可能才教啊，也有可能，然后就看着。
OK，good。但是你以后你说你也不是读纯数的，对不对？你也是要读 finance，对不对？所以为什么你还要来知道 theory 的判呢？OK，AI 啊，为什么？哦，因为如果你说你只要读 finance，不是很合理吗？你应该就直接去 finance 或 business 嘛，怎么还要读数学？是不是很奇怪？挺好的，不止挺好，你知道吗？还对你的 business finance 有用。重点是有用，不是挺好，是有用，有用。怎么用？要用你的脑。我们现在是训练，不只是 Pure Max 啊，我们训练的是脑袋啊，你的脑袋。Pure Max 是我们训练你的一个语言 language，只有这个语言啊，才可以做到这个训练，其他的语言做不了这个训练，因为不够 precise，他们很多东西还没有很精准的表达别个科技，还在发展中。我们呢已经发展好的，对，我们的 feel 是在发展，但是已经发展好的就是那样的，在那一个世界里我们可以很清楚，但是在另外一个世界里，我们又要另外一个可能科系啊来表达。但在这个科系里，我们已经可以完整表达了，这个是数学系跟其他系的不同。OK 吗？说我训练你，为什么 assignment 这么难？我不是训练你 Pure Max 嘛，是吧？这 Pure Max 后面的那个东西，是你用钱都买不到的。我昨天跟他们讲，你用钱都买不到这样东西，这只能够你去练。就好像你打羽毛球嘛，你买得到技术呢？你买得到？哎，Shopee 我要买铃铛杀球，买得到啊？那你没有练，你买得到？我不信，一定要练，一定要练。如果你听得懂要练了，现在我们就要讨论怎么样练。哎，怎么样练？第一，肯定你要回去 try。第二，try 不会了，你一定要来找我了，你不能再无限 try 下去的。我给我的学生哦，extension 2个星期 assignment 呢，做不出0分，幸好他也没有乱抄答案呢。我给他 extend 2个星期，你这么固执，我不是给你哦，我很好哦，是不是？当做别个老师直接卡掉了，是不是？交不上来还是空空的。所以 I mean，我希望你们放下你们自己的自大自负啊，虚心来学习，好不好？我也是虚心来学习，我也没有想要压榨你们什么东西，不必，你也没有给我钱，OK？所以我希望是 create 一个良好的学习环境，健康的学习环境，OK 了。如果你觉得某一个东西太难，你就过来找我，跟我聊一聊先，OK？可能有时候你只是想错嘛，没有你想象中的那么难。数学系的人会有一个问题啊，他很容易活在自己的世界里，所以我就说你们需要跟你们同学多多交流，要多多交流，很容易我们会活在自己的世界里。OK 了，嗯，要多多交流，不然的话你就很凄惨凄凉。OK，有问题吗？没问题。 呀，嗯，对哦，我觉得不应该叫学生一直吵了。就是如果凯伦做老师的话，希望你不要这样对你的学生。我不想我们的社会就是这样啊。嗯，我不知道他们 motivation，但是我是不会做这样子。OK，嗯，可能我一天天生气 emo，但是就我也做不了那件事情。就讲，这是我的 stand，好不好？这 stand 应该是改不了。所以你们就在我班尽量学就对了。我的 FYP 5个跟着我的啊全部做出还没有做出来啦，在做这我觉得别人做不到的事情，所以你要做怎样的人是你自己决定。当然我不能逼你啊，但是就是说我需要告诉你我的 stand，你可以 stand on your stand is OK，我们自己有自己的路，but 就是我是这条路，你要你就跟着我，反正你也不用跟我一辈子的嘛，你顶多3年就走了，是不是？可能你3个 都看不到我了，我跟你讲，所以我就希望你就那天我也是这样跟人之间，那天对不对？我们有一点争执嘛，那天我就讲，我们就互相尊重哦，我又没有做出什么很过分的事情，我一直讨论，就是说我们人与人的关系啊，我们就珍惜哦，我看到你的时间，你看到我的时间，我又不是一辈子住在你家旁边跟你一起睡，对不对？你也不用恨我，我也不用恨你，我们珍惜啊，对不对？可能你会觉得我给你一个超干的东西啊，我确实是给你一个超干的东西，吧？就是说，要怎么 motivate 你去拿那个东西，这个真的是要靠你自己啊，self motivation。因为我有目标，我想去拿，我希望超干的东西，可能你不一样，但是你也不要想就你啊，这班还有其他人哦，哎，其他人也是付钱进来，这么为了你变简单去，你的钱比较大，你付比较多薪水，不是付一样的学费吗？这边每个人一样吧，应该是不是啊？所以所有人不一样，OK，所以他本事呢是靠他自己的本事吧？干嘛？干嘛？靠自己的本事也是 OK，所以就我觉得我们努力啊，我觉得我这个人是这样的，我是很实在的一个，我不会让你的钱浪费掉，就这样，我就这样，OK，你肯定会带走一个很珍贵的 precious 的东西走，这个东西不是什么老师可以给你的，这东西是我在 PhD 里面找到的，我可以给你这个，这是你父母都不知道的东西。你回去的时候，你会看，哎，boy 长大了嘞，看你这次回来，你父母不知道的这个东西，我觉得这个是你父母把你生下来的理由，这是你父母把你生下来的理由，把你送来读书的理由，带着答案回去给你父母看。这样，以后可以再分享多一点这个东西。现在我们 take a break until 2:20。
哎，什么？上完了没？不好，这样上。
你们生气了吗？
没有啊，就有点，有时候感觉无奈，是没
苍蝇，你的 project 话决定了吗？决定什么题目？实数的什么？构造 construction of real numbers。OK，你要怎么写？
我不知道，就是我感觉看他，我就觉得挺奇怪的，不知道跟那个飞机杯有什么关系。啊，里面，我就想是
用厘米来分这个比较有关系。limit of frequency is of real number is a limit of frequency 这一个方面跟我们比较关系，因为是取离，因为其他的话是都你自己比较明显的，也可以读啊，这个里面有 code sequence 就是一个特定的 sequence，然后就是拿它的 limit 去对，比如说拍是多少啊？2.3.141，然后那个 code sequence 你可以拿就是3.1、3.14、3.1、41、3点，就每一个 iteration 都是用这种
哦，
这样对。对，希望他赢。你还是上。 Okay, let's start. Let's quickly discuss this examples here. So if you just substitute in, what did you find? The limit point. If you just substitute the 0, 0, what did you find? You get 1 over 0. So this means what? The theorem tells you that the whole limit doesn't exist. Okay, so this limit does not exist. Okay, since limit of xy to 0, 0 of the numerator is what? Is 1, which is not 0. Limit of xy to 0, 0 of x squared minus y squared is 0. Okay, note that in this theorem, there's some subtlety here. Okay, the subtlety here is, you see, this L cannot be 0. Cannot be 0. Meaning what? If you got the case of 0 over 0, it could be the case that the limit exists. 我有说过你 example 吗？上面零，下面零，它里面 exist。有没有说过这个 example？看下上个星期的。上面零，下面零， limit exists. Okay, it could exist. Okay, so if the numerator, the limit is not 0, but the denominator is 0, confirm doesn't exist. Okay, but if it's 0/0, maybe exists. Okay, so in these two cases here, you can see that you will get 0/0 here. Okay? 0/0. But one of them exists, the other doesn't. Okay. Actually, I lied to you, right? I never taught you how to see the sign. I only teach you how to read limit for polynomial. So how about sign? So later we'll learn what's the trick to see this. Okay? Later we'll see what trick we can play for these sign function. Okay. Right, this one. Let's show that this has no limit at the origin. So in this case here, what do you get? If you just sub 0, you get 0/0. So you cannot use the theorem because numerator is 0. So what can you do is, last time I mentioned when we define this limit, you need to find two directions that give you different limit. Okay, so what sort of direction you can pick? So let me give you some idea first. Okay, so one easy direction, like I draw in the start of the class, right? You can either go from the bottom up. So in this case here, maybe we can go from the x-axis. Okay, and what's the other linearly independent direction? We also can approach from the y-axis. Okay, so we can go from x or go from y-axis. Okay, two direction you can go. Not this picture, right? So last time we get this. So where's the x and y? So let's fix it x, y, z like this. Okay, right hand grid rule. So if we approach from x-axis, which direction do we have? So we go from this direction. Okay, y=0. So yeah, what am I doing? X-axis is y=0. Okay, correct. So we go from here. Okay, one direction is go from x. So let's use another color. Which color? Okay, x direction. So this one go from along x-axis. Okay, the other direction we go from okay. Yeah, x-axis and y-axis. Okay, so we see what happened to this direction here. Right. So let's look at here. So what happened at y=0? What happened to your function? Your function straight away evaluate to what? If you put y=0, you just left with x squared over x squared. But what is this? This is just a constant function. Okay. But what's the limit of constant function 1? The limit. So you approach from 0, 0. I think we should write this. So if you approach along 0, 0, what's your limit here? When xy, so let's use different color. Xy going to 0, 0. What do you get? You still get 1 because it's a constant function. 有问题吗？问题啊，有问题就快点问哦。Maybe you will think that the writing is a bit weird, but just ask. Make sure you know what I wrote, what I'm writing. Okay, so how about x=0? You substitute x at 0, but you let y vary. So what do you get? Instead, you get negative y squared over y squared, which is negative 1. Okay, so if you take limit to the point 0, 0, you still get. Okay. Right. Any question so far? 问题吗？ Why I don't write these? Why don't I write these? Okay, this is a very important question. Why I don't write like this? Okay, if the limit don't exist, we don't use this notation. Okay, if limit don't exist, we don't use this notation. Okay, we use this notation when this limit exists. Okay, we use the limit notation only when the limit exists. Okay, if it doesn't exist, we refrain from using it. 只是说它靠近一个号码 okay, but we won't use this. Because whenever we use this, this means what? You go from different direction, it's still the same number. Okay, it doesn't depend on direction. Okay, so this is what it means by this. 懂我讲什么吗？听声，我讲什么？重复一次。Okay, correct. Okay, so in this case here doesn't exist. Why? Because one direction you go to one, the other direction you go to minus one. Okay? Don't agree. Doesn't agree. Okay. Remember how to agree on limit? You need to check from the open this. Okay. Within the open this, the limit has to be the same. But where is this open this? This open this happen at let's draw this open this here. This open this happen at the origin 0, 0. So if you go from the x direction, you get 1. If you go from the y direction, you get minus 1. Okay. Can see or not from this picture here? You see? From from y-axis, you are at the bottom. From x-axis, you're at the top. So they don't agree. Don't agree. Okay. So we conclude that. What do we conclude here? Different path will lead to different limit. So the limit doesn't exist. Okay. All right. So how about next one? Okay, we see this sign already. I never taught you how to compute sign limit because you only know how to compute polynomial. But in this case here, we still have hop. Okay, what hop do we have? Can we turn two variable function into one variable? This is what we do when we have a parametric curve. Okay, so in this case here, we will use a polar coordinate. Can you see why we can use polar coordinate here? What's the polar coordinate change of variable to us? 先从 how to go from xy to polar coordinate. X square go to x square plus y square. Anything else? How to introduce the theta variable here? Sorry? Do I need them? I need it to tell why r square equals to s square plus y square. S equals to r cos theta. Y equals to r sin theta. Exactly how you get r square equals to s square plus y square. Because cos square plus sin square is 1. Okay. So these three things you need to remember. These three things, very important. Why I say this is useful here? If you do this substitution, what did you get? What happens to this limit here? Instead of computing the instead of computing the limit in xy coordinate, what happens if you do polar coordinate? X square plus y square becomes what? R square. And then bottom become 3 times r square. But what have you changed xy to? What's the limit you take? You take r to 0. Why? Why no need to talk about theta? Sorry, because theta need to be everywhere. Correct or not? Because you are looking at open ball. So theta have to be everywhere. So you are looking at the radius of a ball decreasing to a point origin. Okay, so meaning the radius is 0. So in this case here, why is this good? What happened? You change a 2-variable function into a 1-variable. So you can use calculus 1. Okay, so in calculus 1, you learn that sine is a continuous function, r squared continuous function, composite of continuous function is continuous. Okay, and then how to compute this limit here? How to compute this limit here? So from positive, this one. How to compute this this limit? You need L'Hopital or not in this case? Seems like you need it, right? Because you have 0 over 0. Okay, so you need to use L'Hopital. So if you L'Hopital a few times, what do you get? How many times? Okay. Calculus 1. What to do here? I put a plus here because we really approaching from positive only. There's no negative radius in our case. Right. How to do L'Hopital? One more time of substitution. Does it work? Seems like it works. So what kind of substitution you want to do? T equals to r squared? Sure. Let's see. If we do t equals to r squared, what do we do here? We just still keep it the same. So make it into sine t over t like that. Okay. Change of variable again. Then you do L'Hopital. Okay. Okay. Is everyone okay with this change of variable here? So if you change the variable, obviously you need to change what's the limit you take. Okay, so let's say my r is taking to 0, so r squared will go to 0 also. So t goes to 0. Okay. If you want to do L'Hopital here also can, I think you need to do twice. Okay, but here you do once. Okay, yeah. So what do you get for your L'Hopital? 感觉你们不是很熟啊，L'Hopital还是这样？讲这样。Right, but do you know how to calculate that? 三角形啊。But what I want to show you is just L'Hopital. Just use L'Hopital to compute it. Okay, yeah. So the fact that limit of t goes to 0 of sine t over t is 1 is you can do it through L'Hopital. Okay, to prove it, you can do it from the L'Hopital. Okay, so you get cos t over 1, which is over 3 times 1. Okay, 这样。没有零的右边。This one is what? Radius. Radius inside the polar coordinate is going from 0 to infinity only. Let's take this convention, because we know that we can identify negative radius, right? But all of the point we can use positive radius to tell. Correct or not? Because if you take positive radius and then you take all the angle, you can already give coordinate for every point. 想得到我在讲什么吗？ If you have a 0, okay, point to positive infinity, and then you take all the angle, then you can represent all the point in the plane just using positive radius and angle. 明白吗？可以扫射全部点。Okay, if you include negative again, then you need to identify point together. Okay. Right. So the picture is like this. So picture is like this. So we have 0, 0 here, and then the radius is going from 0 plus like that. Okay, going like this, the limit. Okay, coming from positive of 0. I mean, positive side of x-axis going to 0. So it's going everywhere because this is a polar coordinate. 对吗 ？R 等于 E 是什么图案 ？Polar curve。这个 ，OK， so I equals to 1, I equals to 0.5, 0.2, 0.1, and then like that. Okay, so close to origin. 看到 So this is the limit we are taking here. So I equals to 1, and then I equals to 0.5, and then go to 0, you will achieve this point here. Okay, so we really, you see, there's an open ball here, open ball, open ball. Right, continue. So let's continue. Let's continue. So how about I let you try this question? Okay, see if you can use polar coordinate to work it out. Whenever you see what x square, y square, you can think about polar already. This kind of power. Okay, try this one. Whether it exists or not. Can you use a polar coordinate to do it? Right, so you can see that this question you cannot just substitute, right? Because you get 0 over 0. Okay, there's nothing you can say about it. So the technique I teach you just now was using polar coordinate. So if you turn it into polar coordinate, what do you get? Anyone have a final answer? Or should we just do it? Just do it one by one. So r cos theta times r sin theta over r squared. And this limit here is what? Just cos theta and sin theta. But do you know how to compute this here? What is this sign? Your limit is taken with r, but your function has no r. Meaning what? This function is constant in r. Okay, so this limit has nothing to do with this function. Okay, so meaning what? This limit is just equals to cos theta sin theta. Okay, doesn't depend on r. So in this case here, how do you interpret this answer? How do you interpret this answer? What does this theta mean? Huh? This theta, if you plug different theta in, you'll get different answer. Okay, so what can you see here is if you go and click your calculator, so different value of theta will lead to different limit. Okay, so meaning what? Meaning the limit doesn't exist. And so the limit doesn't exist. Okay, so you can try theta equals 0. What is it? Theta equals to, for example, power 3. What is it? Okay. There's one way to quickly see this. So there's one way to quickly see this. So for example, if you plot out these two curves, right? So one of them look like this. Okay, the other one look like, for example, this. Okay, so if you take 0, what do you get? If you multiply these two together, you get 0. But if you multiply a point which is both non-zero, you get non-zero. Okay, so different theta, you get a different value. So in principle, obviously we don't write this, but in this course, 你们看着办咯 okay? Yeah. Make sure that you know when the limit doesn't exist. Don't try and write this, but yeah, okay. 我会比较 linear 啦这个东西，但是我要告诉你的是，你要知道说，当你在用这个符号的时候，不是通常我们是在讲它 axis 的时候 ，OK。但是这个课就有一点半桶水这样，所以我们就 linear 一点啦，有些东西我们 linear，但是 concept wise， 像恩子讲的 concept wise 我们要做好，因为你下一个步骤不是你要进 MA， 你这些东西一定要做好，不然你在那边一定乱的。OK， 所以这些 concept wise 要做好。写的部分我们有时候看能够抓紧我们就抓紧，不能抓紧我。所以可以 argue 哦，有时候如果 assignment 啊，可能我扣太多，你觉得你就跟我讲说，你就来跟我讨论吧。如果我可以给你，我就给你。如果因为有时候你不知道我要什么，我也不知道你要什么，可能当下你解释得出，然后就说啊，下次你应该要这样写，像我跟小鹏讲，你应该要这样写，哎，下次他就这样写给我，就 OK， 我就给你这个分。OK， 说你要来跟我交流了，其实 OK 了啊，因为每一个人的写法都不同，所以你要知道你自己缺乏什么。我讨论的时候能够讨论很 general， 大家都会犯的错误 ，OK， 我就讲 ，OK， 这个全部大家错，然后这个不可以这样做。但是有些是很 specific， 对于你去写的时候呢，因为是你的想法，别人没有这样想，你懂吗？但有些东西你就要写清楚 ，OK。All right. How about next one? Should we do this one also? Let me see. What time is it? Should we go continuity or not? Let's keep this one. This one is the same. You use polar. How about do this one? I think this one more interesting. Okay, I let you do again. Try this again. And this one. Okay, you cannot x squared加 y squared. Then you can try see if polar coordinate can do better job. What is this? So if you turn it into a polar coordinate, what do you get? 3 times r cos theta squared times r sine theta over r squared. So what do you really get there? You get 3r times cos theta sine theta. Does everyone get this? 全部人算到这个吗？还是你算到其他的？ Okay, so everyone just get this. What's the limit? What's the limit here? Cos theta, sin theta doesn't depend on r. Okay, so you should treat them as a constant. Okay, so you just get 0 because r goes to 0. Get 0 times everything else is 0. But there's a technique, another technique to compute this. We can use, I think I haven't introduced to you, but I think I'll do it in the notes, which is called a squeeze theorem for function. Okay, squeeze theorem for function. Pretty sure you see it in calculus 1, right? So we can do it in two variable function also. So how do we do this? How do we squeeze it in this case? How do we squeeze? So the first calculation tells you that you need to squeeze by two functions that go to 0. Okay, only that you can show that the middle one go to 0 also. So what to do here? Well, if you notice about this value here, what's this value here? 3x squared y over x squared plus y squared. Is there a very dangerous thing to happen here? Yeah, quite dangerous. So, let's see. So what happened here? Right. How to bound this? Is it possible to bound it or not? So let's start from somewhere. So let's start from here. S squared over F. Okay, we do this. What happened? Can I bound this anywhere? Let's try. Let's try. See if we can work it out. So this can be bounded above by 1, bounded below by 2, 0. Sorry. Okay. Does it make sense? Okay, yeah. Okay. But we still need 3y, right? So let's introduce 3y over x squared plus y squared plus 3. Can I just simply multiply y like this? Cannot. 不能，做 y 平手。y 不知道是 positive or negative. Okay. But can we do the other way? We make sure that this is greater or equal to -1. And then we get minus 3y here. Can we do this? Huh? Cannot y. First line y cannot. You made this line. What's wrong with this line? Positive, right? I mean, well, this should be greater or equal to 0. I don't know. Okay. And then anything wrong here or no? Anything wrong here? Makes sense, right? This line. Shouldn't this line make sense? Even if y positive or y negative? Okay. 问题啊，有问题。Absolute value, yeah, absolute value. I mean, sure. I mean, if you want to understand it in the other way, a way. All right, okay, correct. So this, what we meant is this is less than or equals to 3y. Yeah, sure. This is the definition of this. Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, this is correct, right? Because we can rewrite. Let me think. So if you have this would imply that absolute of 3y is less than. Okay, so I mean, how to get this line here? Sorry? Y can be negative. Oh, right. That's the problem. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay. Yeah, then it won't work, right? Mm-hmm. You mean like this? I mean, like this. Which one? Here, yeah. You mean like this? Correct. You can do this. Actually, you can do this. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you can do this. Okay. I mean, if you do this, right, can you squeeze it or not? Is it possible to squeeze? Do you know the limit of xy go to 0 of negative absolute y here? Do you know this? 会这个吗？又没有教我，其实要懂这个东西。But do you know that this limit exists here? Why does it exist? This exists is like how you see the fx equals to absolute x exists. Okay, I mean, wait, let me draw it first. So this one, what I meant is this. Fx equals to absolute x. You know this limit exists when you take x go to 0? 知道这个吗？ Yeah. Because the left and right direction will converge to 0. But how to imagine fxy equals to absolute y 啊？记得吗？一开始的课怎么想啊？ If it is independent of x, you just take a bunch of this, glue them together. So instead of getting a plane here, you get a V. Okay, instead of getting a plane, you get a V. A bunch of V. Okay, a bunch of V in what direction? In the x direction, because here is the absolute of y. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to assume this. So we need to assume that we know that. Assuming we know that the limit of absolute y is 0. Okay, we need to know that we know this. Okay, yeah. So take this as theorem. Okay, we just assume this. Take this as theorem. Take as theorem. Okay. Okay, so this is the basic. Another basic function you know about x, you know about y, you know about absolute x, you know about absolute y. Okay, so in this case here, both sides will converge to 0. So use the squeeze theorem. It converges to 0. Okay, this is a two-dimensional squeeze theorem. Okay, any other question? I will add this into your proposition later, the property. Okay, so you can assume it. 有问题吗？问题吗？ So left right converge to 0, so by squeeze theorem, the middle one converge to 0. Okay, so how many ways I told you? I told you polynomial way, I told you polar coordinate way. You also can use squeeze theorem. Okay, if it works. And so 3 ways. Okay, you can get the limit of function. 3个步骤啊，这3个步骤写下来 ，summary 今天的 summary， 你可以用property of limit of polynomial, and then second you can use polar coordinate. Okay, third you can use squeeze theorem. 这3种方法。如果我只教这3种模式，你就要 expect 我出的题就会围绕这3种东西，你就要去 test 哪一个有用。OK， 我题目就这样吧，可能你会看不懂，但是你要知道那个解的那个答案肯定是你看过的，就这样。我一定是考我教过的东西，只是怎么拼在一起，你们确实要用电脑。Okay. So please do question before you come to revision next class. Okay, please do and then prepare question to ask. Okay. Is it clear? 这个拜五对吗？1点到3点，是吗？这个拜五1点到3点啊。Where's the venue? Where's the venue? Where's the venue? 帐篷在哪里？不知道，有人知道吗？有茶吗？有茶吗？Sorry，A5，A5G06，A5G06啊，全部有 check 到吗？A4 还是 A5？啊，A4 啊，G06不要去错房间啊，等下我没有在那边了。OK，so see you Friday。